Hello? Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me now? Can you guys hear me? Let me know if you guys can hear me now. Yay or nay? Back now? Okay, cool. Hey guys, welcome to another live show, another live She Knows Arsenal. Make sure you guys are liking the video and subscribing to the channel, and most importantly, getting in the chat and letting me know what you guys are thinking and feeling. I don't know what happened there. It just was like, you're disconnected. And I was like, okay, whatever. But this is going to be a speed show. We're going to need to get this done quicker than usual. I went to take my dog to get fixed, and they said he was going to be ready between 12 and 3. And oddly, they texted me like 5 minutes ago saying that he'll be ready in like an hour. So this can be like a speedier show than usual, but nevertheless, we're going to have a good time. We're going to talk about outgoings. Actually, before the show was like, when I was thinking about what I was going to talk about, I was like, there's literally nothing to talk about. Everything about like our outgoings has been incredibly quiet, which is a little bit concerning considering, yeah, my dog fixed. So when you get your dog fixed, like basically they're cutting his balls off. So just like that. So yeah, he's getting fixed. So I think they call it neutered. Yeah, so yeah, they're gone. But I was like, what are we even going to talk about? There's nothing really to chat about. There's nothing going on. And then like as soon as I was setting up the show, David Ornstein came out with a bomba talking about Fabio Vieira, and I was like, great. And also Santi JFM also put out some information about Kiwior, so we'll talk about that. We know that we're in a position right now that we're probably just waiting for Arsenal to move some players on so that we can move on to more incomings. When I say incomings, we need incomings. We need more than one player, I think. Eze would be great, and if we just got Eze, I'd be just about like okay, but I would still probably feel like we needed more than that, a left wing as well, but we're kind of waiting to move players on. Obviously, nothing has happened because we haven't moved anybody on. So David Ornstein says that Stuttgart is pursuing a deal to sign Fabio Vieira from Arsenal. The 25-year-old attacking midfielder spent last season on loan at Porto. Stuttgart approach relates to a permanent move, which is great. We don't want any more loans. No agreement yet, but talks with Arsenal continue for the Portuguese playmaker. How much do you think we should get for Fabio Vieira realistically? We bought him for about 34 million pounds, I think. So, that's a pretty like hefty fee for a player that didn't necessarily pan out the way that we wanted to. So, I'm wondering what you guys think about like what you think that we should be getting back for him, but I like the that I'm not hearing about loans, to be honest. Like one thing with Edu is that if we were going to get a player out, it was mostly going to be just like a loan, like a dry loan or something. It was very rare that he got obligations or decent fees. So I'm interested to see like kind of how this pans out. But if Fabio Vieira were to go, I would imagine that like, okay, we've opened up the space now to move on with Eze. It's so important that we get this player in. So this is really, really good news for us because listen, like it was getting really quiet for a minute. We won't get more than 10. I think we'll get more than that. A Dewsbury Hall for 25 million. Hopefully we get something in that range, anything but a loan. We paid 35, so 20 million recoup. Remember, these other leagues do not have the cash from the Premier League. 20 to 25. Aspirations for sales. Vieira, Zinni, Nelson would like to keep Kiwior. Just hope you're feeling refreshed after quality time with friends. I would love to say that I feel refreshed, but I actually got really, really ill. We both got really sick. And I'm just now recovering. But we did have a good time. We did like a couple of escape rooms. We went to Santa Barbara on a train. We ate a lot. We laughed a lot. So we did have fun, but yeah, I paid for it. I'm still recovering. Realistically, I take 15. We are bad at selling. So, yeah, I would say like 20 is kind of what I'm expecting. maybe 15, 15 with add-ons or something, somewhere in between there. I really don't think it's gonna be that much, but ultimately, like, we just need to kind of start moving some of these pieces, around, sooner rather than later. Also, this is coming from Santi J FM, said that Arsenal had turned down a formal bid from Porto for Kiwior. The proposal was a loan with an obligation to buy for 27 million euros. How do you guys feel about this? I gotta know. You know, because also this this connects to the move for Jeremy Jacket, I think his name is, from Ren, maybe, yeah, Ren, the young, center back that if Kiwior were to leave, then he'd be like a player that we bring in. I would not imagine Kiwior would be desperate to go to Porto. But that's also like not, I guess, because our sales are so bad. I'm like, "Ooh, you should have got that," but because we bought him for like 25 million. So, that's what is 27 million euros is like 22 million pounds. So we'd be losing like a little bit. So I'm like, "Ooh, yeah, do that." But maybe they feel like we could have gotten more. I don't know. Because I don't think he's worth like 50 million. I see some Arsenal fans saying like, "Oh, he's worth like 50 million." Maybe 35, 40, maybe. I don't know how to gauge Kiwior, because if we bought him for 25 and people want like 40 now, did he play enough and do enough to improve that much? Or I don't know. So yeah, maybe it is a little bit of a low ball, but uh, moving on Kiwior is not going to help us get as a. That's for sure. It's just going to mean that we're going to need to buy a new defender. So it is what it is. But I would imagine that at 25, he'd want to leave. Like, he's not going to start at Arsenal. Um, he's definitely somebody that, is in a good place to go somewhere and start. So I would imagine he'd want to go. But maybe Arsenal are turning down those bids because they know that there's maybe somebody else in the cut that wants to offer a little bit more, and so we're willing to wait it out. But, Kiwior is kind of like, if he wants to stay, that's fine. If he wants to go, that's fine. It's kind of like whatever. In my opinion, it's like kind of whatever. Like, I'm not gonna be like sad if he doesn't stay. Um, I just think the fee has to be right and we have to replace properly. Looked at a couple little comps of Jeremy Jacket. He looks like a really good prospect. Maybe we wouldn't be able to get him until 2026, so maybe somebody that have to stay on loan for a while. It is what it is. Kiwior, love you down. Do whatever you want to do. You're welcome to stay. You're also welcome to go. Berta needs to repair our reputation for selling players. Kiwior very rarely had put a foot wrong. He's worth more. How much more is the debate? 35 to 40 million. But then again, these other leagues don't have cash like the Prem. Yes, for the 10 games he was, for Gabby and Saliba, was mostly shaky. I want Kiwior to stay. Others would sell him for 35, 40. We need to do better at selling. So around 35, 40 is what you guys are saying. So yeah, maybe we would end up getting like somewhere around that, amount. That would feel good. I just don't know who in Italy is going to do that, because I would imagine that's where he wants to go. I would imagine he would want to go back to Italy. They are broke, so I don't know like what would happen with that, but I'm sure there's going to be a lot more interest in Kiwior before the end of the window. Wow, I just saw a um I just saw a video of Saliba, and he had a shiner. He had a shiner. Um but yeah, we'll see how that develops. If Mikel ain't gonna play Kiwior, he should go so we can make money. we are just bad at selling. Kiwior has done more than Dewsbury Hall, and yet Chelsea are getting much more. I like how Berta is moving so far, but he needs to better us in terms of sales. Well, he's just started with sales. I would say that, like, there's nothing that says to me that Berta has been, like, not, like, doing anything with sales so far. I think, we're just kind of, like, getting into that sphere. So, I think the big test will be how Fulham come for Reece Nelson. Are they gonna be on bullshit and gonna be asking for a loan again? I think it needs to be an obligation and/or permanent. You've had him at your club before, you know if you like him or not. If you're scared about his injuries, then you shouldn't even be in the conversation. So, I do think that getting like a fee for Reece Nelson would be a big positive. Being able to move on Fabio Vieira for a fee would be a huge positive. Figuring out this Kiwior Zinchenko situation. Is one of them going to leave and we're going to bring in this young player and let him go on loan, whatever. And then seeing what happens with the attacking players, in particular Jesus and Trossard. I still feel like Trossard needs to be moved on. Somebody in that attack needs to go, so that we can move in somebody else. And so if you were to lose Trossard and Reece Nelson, then, you know, you need to bring somebody in. And I feel like I'm desperate for Arsenal to almost be as desperate as we are to change the way that this attack looks. They seem a little bit like, if we don't really want to get rid of Trossard, but if a good bid comes in, like, no, like, you either want him to stay or not, like, you either want him to go or not. Tell him to find a new club, like, and I love Trossard down, but if he's like in between us and getting another left wing, then he's got to hit the road. He's got to hit the road. So there's not really much going on with Trossard right now. I saw a report about Brentford, but to be honest, the person that puts out that report is incredibly unreliable and just makes up shit constantly. So I don't really want to get too wrapped up in the Trossard to Brentford stuff. But I mean, shouldn't Trossard, but Trossard at this stage probably knows that all I have to do is just hang on a little bit and I'll be starting because Martinelli is not good. And I know I'll get lots of playing time, but if we were to bring in Eze and then Madueke is also playing on the left, then maybe that would make him more desperate to go. But we kind of need you to go just a little bit, so we can move on. We know Martinelli's not going anywhere, so he's not ever going to leave the club. Um, let's see. Berta using death row tactics for Saliba. We don't need to swap backups right now on defense. Move Zinni, Fabio, and Reese. Third kit got released. What's your thoughts on it? Which of the 3 new shirts is your favorite? The home kit and the third kit are bangers. They are perfect. No notes. They just 10 out of 10, no notes for either one of those. Probably the third kit is probably my favorite because I've been waiting for years for them to do some sort of redone modern version of that white and burgundy kit because it's one of my favorites of all time. And they did it. It's pristine. So I would say the third kit's my favorite, and it is 10 out of 10, no notes. The home kit is also a 10 out of 10. We don't need blue on our home kits. We just need to keep it the regular, like, classic Arsenal red. Classic. It's great. Looks gorgeous. The blue kit only really looks good to me when they're wearing it on the full kit. Alone, styled normally, it's not my favorite, but in the kit form with the dark blue shorts and everything, it does look quite nice. I wish the white kit was our away kit though, because we're only going to see it a couple times. I'd rather the blue kit be the third kit, but this has been a good run for us, especially after, like, last season. We had the Monsters Inc., the red and blue home kit that was, and then we had the away, which was the black with the animal print kind of thing. It was giving overthought. And then the season prior, we had the really nice home kit, but we had that very strange away kit. This is probably the first time since 22-23 that we've had 3 really nice kits. So I like all of them. Sell Trossard and Vieira, bench Martinelli, buy Lookman and Eze, window done. The attack looks stale, I can't lie. It is more than stale. It's rank. It's rank. Legos Ventura, thank you so much for your super chat. Says, I'm always surprised by the fans' eagerness to sell Kiwior. He just played well in the UCL semis. We've had injuries in defense in the past 3 years. Honestly, I mean, I think just some people are still not sold on Kiwior. I'll be honest. I've seen quite a few, people like very kind of like he did well then, but he's still not somebody that I'm 100% sold on. I like Kiwior. I think he's much better than what people give him credit for. Is he somebody that I feel like we just cannot afford to sell? Not necessarily. I feel like there is a world where you bring in a younger player with a higher ceiling and we get the same kind of result, to be honest. But ultimately, if he wanted to stay, I would not be like, oh, Kiwior, like, obviously, you know, he's good enough to be a backup. My biggest concern with Kiwior is mostly his physicality. He's not somebody that I feel like gives us the same level of, physicality as Gabrielle. And so when him and Saliba play together, I do feel like there's always like kind of like an opportunity for teams to run us over or, kind of like bully us a little bit. They get bullied a little bit more than when Gabrielle is back there. And there's definitely less leadership back there. But no center back pairing is ever going to add up to Saliba plus Gabrielle. Keep that in mind. But some people are just, once they have it set in their head that they don't think a player is good, it just is what it is. He had a couple of high kind of profile mistakes the season prior in the Champions League. And I think once you have those moments for some Arsenal fans, doesn't matter what you do past that, they're done. So I'm not pushing him out the door necessarily, but I'm also not white knuckling, to keep him here either. I think we can live without him as long as we replace properly. Hold that says, give me Jeremy Jacket. If you sell Kiwior, you need to replace him. Calafiori is injury prone and Kiwi can cover there. Well, that's where I think that Jeremy Jacket guy comes in. He's sorry guys. He's like the young center back from Rennes, I think it is. I don't think they want to sell him to us for this summer, but maybe we could get him for 2026. I would not mind like getting somebody like this and then loaning him back. I think would be smart, especially because we brought in Mascara. It's not like we haven't brought in anybody. So Mascara is somebody that can cover on both sides. That's what he's meant to come in and do. And so if he can cover for Saliba or Gabrielle, and then if Zinni ends up staying and you have Calafiori, they can be injury prone together and maybe add up to one. And I think we have enough, but some people would rather get somebody that's going to be here right away. But I'd like to see us do more of this, buy players and loan them back and, do like we did with Saliba. I cannot, and it just never ceases to amaze me how Arsenal are so smart and so good at identifying defensive talent. And they want so much defensive talent stacked in this team, but they cannot replicate that up front. This is why when people are like, yeah, but we already have, I'm like, I don't care about that. If you feel okay with having like 50 left backs and all these center backs, then why can't we have the same type of depth up front? But I'm just going by what people are saying. I don't know because I've never watched this young man, so I'm not going to sit here and be like, "Oh my god, I've always watched him and I know." But according to what people are saying, he's a really good like prospect. Him and Mascara were some of like the top center back prospects, young prospects. So I would love to get somebody like this and replace Kiwior with him. Like why not? Legos Ventura, thank you so much, says, I agree with you. It's just that people talk about selling him, not replacing him. We need quality defenders. And I mean, yeah, no, I get that. I think, obviously, maybe they just don't talk about replacing him because it's almost like we know we need to replace him. But we know that Arsenal would not sell Kiwior or not bring somebody else in. We are definitely struggling at the back already. We had like 2 injuries at the back so far that like in preseason, and boom, it already looks a little like shaky back there. So yeah, 100%. I do think that Arsenal know they need to replace him. I think Arsenal fans also understand that. But yeah, Kiwior is just somebody that I feel like just made those couple mistakes early, and people are like, "Get him out of here, like, he's still not good enough." And to a certain extent, I think, again, as good as Kiwior has done, I think from a physical standpoint, we could do better because our back line is built upon physicality, and as good as Kiwior is on the ball, there's always that element where I think he's about to get bullied, and so I wouldn't mind getting somebody just a little bit more physically equipped to deal with the type of strikers that are in the Premier League, so we don't have to worry about him just getting, like, I think I don't remember who did it to him, but I wanna say, like, towards the end of the season, one of the last couple of games, Kiwior got bullied badly. I don't know if it was by Mateta or somebody, but it's just those little moments where you realize that maybe there is a ceiling to Kiwior, that no matter how good he is on the ball and how well he did in the Champions League for those games, he's just not somebody that for the long haul you'd be comfortable for him stepping in for Gabriel, really. So, yeah, he's a keep, but would not mind if we sold as well. I mean, the last time we bought a CB from France language was Big Gabby. I think you mean France League was Big Gabby and Saliba. Willing to bet he's good. I understand the need to be proactive and secure players for the future, but can we just sort out our attack? The season starts in 2 weeks. Where's our left wing and Eze? I just think that Arsenal are waiting to sell. I think that to everything has ceased ever since like that first report of Arsenal want to start getting players out. Nothing has happened from an incoming standpoint. I'm still not 100% sure we're going to get a left wing. I actually am pretty negative on it right now. I don't think Arsenal are desperate to get a left wing. I think just the fact that they're wanting Martinelli to stay and they're not desperate to move Trossard on makes me think that they think it's okay what we have. I just cannot, yeah, my brain cannot fathom that the coaches and Arteta and Berta watch what we watch every game and they're like, yeah, this is okay. Like it's shocking what we watch every day on the left-hand side, but you know, it is what it is. Hey Jess, what do you think of Ilman Ndiaye from Everton on the left wing for Arsenal? Did he just get there? Didn't he just get to Everton? I'm sure he's a good player. And I know people are talking about him a lot, but I think he just got to Everton, so I don't think he's gonna come to us. But he seems like a good player. Let's see how he does. Actually, Everton are doing really well in their window. They are really backing Moyes, which I think is pretty cool. But for us, that's not great because we tend to really struggle with that team. So it's like we already struggled going up there. What is it going to be like now when they have this player and that player? So yeah, but I think he just got there, so I don't know if we'd be able to get him. Let's see. Divine made 2 mistakes in the first half of GH. What is that? Who's Divine? Henry, who is Divine? The outgoing rumors are a little dry right now as well. That's worrying. 200 million. I think that was our war chest. We have spent 196. We have to sell, in my opinion. We need more than Eze. Same old Arteta if he stops at just Eze. If we got Eze in, I'd be over the moon because that would be the first time we bought a player that was kind of, I don't want to say a luxury, but a clear upgrade in attack that wasn't efficient or, like regular standard, was an actual flair player that added like that extra X factor. That would be the first attacker that Arteta's brought with X factor outside of Gabriel Jesus. So if we got him, because we already know the club is already kind of like, do we need him? Like they see Eze as a luxury, and other clubs are buying multiple attackers for the same position and nobody cares. But Arsenal are like, if we were to get Eze, I'd be shocked because that would mean that they kind of threw away their usual kind of like principles of just having just about enough and having these kind of like efficient, kind of serviceable players and going for somebody that's actually going to lift the level. Yeah. And not a project either. So not a Madueke Havertz project. I would be shocked if we even got Eze over the line. I'll be so honest with you. I would sell Kiwior for less than 30 million pounds. Kiwior is a better defender than Calafiori. If we go into next season and the window closes with the imbalance in attack not being addressed, I will not rate this window very highly at all. Don't worry, Madueke will cook. What's happening with Eze? Heard Tottenham are back in for him. They lost Son and Madison injured. I haven't heard about them being back in for him, but I'm sure if we don't come in for him, he'll go there. They lost Madison. The only reason why they were going for Morgan Gibbs White was because he said he wanted to go to Arsenal. So, I don't know. I don't know. But I would imagine that he's not just going to stay at Crystal Palace. So, we just need to pull the finger out and go get him and stop doing whatever we're doing. Everton about to be a streets we'll never forget if they get Grealish. Stop saying same old Arteta. He clearly doesn't hold the keys in the transfers anymore. Does the fact that Gyökeres took the 14 instead of 10 tell us we're keeping the 10 available for Eze or a left wing? Not necessarily. I mean, I think that that's what people are hoping, but the 10 has been available for this is the second summer it's been available because ESR left last summer. So no guarantees. But I would hope so. We need to bring in somebody, even if regardless of them playing and being the 10 or whatever, we need to bring in more. This preseason has shown that as good as we are, in every other position, there's just a clear something missing in that attack. It's so strange. Like our attack is like the weirdest thing I've ever seen. It's not fluid. There's no X factor. The ball striking is horrendous. Like it's dead, So obviously we haven't seen Madueke and Gyökeres for a significant amount of time. Going into these next two games against the Spanish teams, I'm really desperate to see those two players. I really hope Arteta doesn't waste a lot of time starting Havertz and Martinelli. We've kind of seen them a lot, so it's almost like a waste to continue to play them. They don't work together, and you've bought new players, so I'm hoping that he doesn't do what he did in the last game and I know Gyökeres had just came in, but you're gonna need as much attacking whatever for those first couple games. We have so many difficult games away from home against the top 6. You're not gonna be able to just run Martinelli and Kai Havertz and think you're gonna get through those games. So, yeah, we should have been in for Marmoush last Jan, taken that he only cost 7 million more than Madueke. Where does the information come from? Tottenham is back in for Eze. I actually haven't seen any of that. Big up Jess. Berta was known for incoming moves, so we'll see what happens. I feel like we have to get 130 million plus outgoings just to show we can. If Kiwi does that, then move him. If we can't get a left wing, Eze is what we need, a player who can actually replicate what Xhaka did 3 years ago and can also play a left wing. We need to see Rice, Zubi, and Odegaard. We haven't seen that yet. There's just a lot of stuff we haven't seen. Like, I'm desperate to see, the team but that's my thing. It's like, I think Arteta is planning on starting Martinelli and Havertz for the season because that's his, his baseline. He likes those players. They know the system, all that kind of shit. But, he needs to move beyond that. I'd almost rather it be imperfect but different than whatever we're watching. So just start Gyökeres, start him and start Madueke on the left and let's see what we have. I've been seeing little comps of Madueke playing on the left, and as much as I'm not the biggest fan of Madueke, the things that he can do are, to be honest, like, better than what Martinelli can do, to be honest, so he needs to move on, We have 2 games in preseason for you to focus on changing the way that the attack operates and make it more dangerous, and so, do not waste 180 minutes doubling down on something that we know kinda works, doesn't really work, is stale, a little bit rigid, don't waste time on that. Let's see. Any announcement about Saka and Trossard extent of injury? I haven't seen anything on the injuries, to be honest, but I actually don't think that their injuries are that bad, to be honest. Um, 135 million plus transfer. Whoops, that's confusing. No, I hear what you're saying. I'm actually excited to see Madueke on the left, or is that just me? Um, the more you the more you watch the the more you watch what we have, I think the more open you are to seeing Madueke. I think that's how dark it's gotten, if I'm honest. It's gotten to the stage now where I think we're just like, we wanna see something different. So, no, I don't think it's just you. Yeah, that's true. There's no excuse to bench Zubi and Gyökeres at this point. There really isn't. There's no reason to continue on with the same thing, So, yeah, gonna be awkward party showing his new team next week. I actually couldn't give a toss about that, if I'm really, really honest. He plays for somebody else now. He's somebody else's situation? I'd be more excited to watch Jess on the left wing than anyone else we have. Listen, if I played on the left, you guys would be booing me in like 5 seconds, but seriously, we need to just see something else. I think it's just that simple. You want to see something new. I think what was so frustrating against Tottenham was we were watching the exact same team that we watched last season. And although that team is not bad, once it gets to the attack, it just falls so short. It's pass it to Saka or nothing, and we need to move beyond that. Um, the left is still a dead zone, and I wasn't a big fan of the Norgard playing for 60 minutes, not because I don't like Norgard, because it made me nervous that Arteta is gonna play it safe and start Norgard at the beginning of the season. So next 2 games, if we're not seeing a lot of Zubi, I'm gonna get a little bit nervous about that. Norgard, good player, we didn't spend 60 million on Zubi for him not to play against City and Liverpool and Newcastle and Man United. Um, let's see, sell Havertz and keep Jess as a backup striker. Listen, listen, at the very least, I'm gonna shank the ball into the back of the net. At the very least. Arteta is the problem, everything on the left. I mean, the left is a problem, that's for sure. It's crazy that the Rio kid from Liverpool would start at left wing for us. I mean, the fact that people are like Reece Nelson is the best left wing that we have is pretty crazy, you know. And that's not even like a super compliment to Reece Nelson. It's just, it's so bad. It's so bad. People rather see Madueke play as a left winger. I didn't expect to see Martinelli's downfall. I mean, it's been for a long time with Martinelli. So it's so bad that people are doing hopium copium for Madueke on the left. But even I'm falling victim because I just need to see something different. I cannot watch it anymore. I know it's not all of Martinelli's fault. And I do look at Arteta a little sideways. Like, you know what Martinelli's strengths are, so why don't you play to those? If Martinelli is in front of goal, he's going to do a lot better. When the picture is a lot clearer, meaning that he only has to think about going straight to goal, taking a shot. Like, it's easier for him, then he makes the right decision. But the more he has to think, the further he is away from goal, the harder it is for Martinelli to be successful. And Arteta has made it such that he has to do those things. And so it's not all on Martinelli, but because Arteta is not changing, then the left wing has to change. And that's just, yeah, it's just so hard. I'm conflicted now. I always believed that we wouldn't win the UCR EPL under KSE, but now I find myself believing that a different manager would have won the league at least once in the last 3 years. It's an argument. Martinelli himself hasn't applied himself over 5 years. He can't put his head up. No, Meduki has got to do something spectacular on the left for me to give him a chance. Sorry. Martinelli can't beat his man. He should be second striker, bring in Rodrigo. If Arteta doesn't win this season, surely he must go. Thanks a lot. He'd have won the Premier League with this current Arsenal team. Where would you rather Declan play now that we have Zubi? I think he is at best a number 6. I just think that we need to go back to what Arteta was doing with Jorginho and Declan Rice in the time where we won 14 games. I think we won 14, lost 1, and drew 1, where Declan Rice's starting position was a lot deeper. He wasn't the furthest, midfielder forward. He was coming from a deeper position. He was closer to Jorginho so he could help shield him, but he was also connecting with Jorginho a lot more. It was a lot more fluid. Declan is so much better when he's actually conducting and playing from that deeper position. He's a good passer of the ball. He can see the picture a lot clearer. The closer he is and the more that he has to play in crowd scenes, the less he's successful. And so if you go back and watch any of the, Declan Rice in the 23-24 season, especially at the back end when Jorginho was playing in the 6 and he was also playing in the 8, but further back, that suited Declan so much better. Ever since Arteta has went into this left center mid is a box crasher that starts higher and Odegaard is a lot deeper and he helps with build up. Everything has gone to shit since then. That just does not suit us at all. It doesn't suit Rice. It doesn't necessarily suit Odegaard either. I feel like he's trying to force something that doesn't work. And of course, Rice can still make those third man runs, just like Xhaka always made those late runs into the box, even though he was playing a little bit closer to Partey. But he's just too far forward. And what that also does is it leaves the 6 stranded. So when we do inevitably lose the ball, they can easily bypass Declan Rice and they're bearing down on the 6. The 6 gets bypassed and we're in trouble. And then we get scored on the counter. So yeah, the last time that Declan Rice looked I feel like the best iteration of him at Arsenal outside of the 6 was when he played with Jorginho. And it's just a little shift in the way that it's set up. It's just a little tiny shift. Declan can play in that position, but he needs to be deeper. Him in the pockets, playing at this box crasher, second striker, it really just, it doesn't work. It really, really doesn't. So I think that needs to change for sure. Let's see. Zachary says, agreed, the double pivot allows Odegaard to roam and our fullbacks overlap. It's we cannot have £100 million signing that we're wondering what's his best position and how are we going to use him and are we using him to the best of his ability. The fact that Rice is still performing at such a high level despite not always looking super comfortable in the role that he's given is a testament to his talent level. I think he is doing well despite the way he's being used, not because of the way he's being used. And so the only time that I felt like Rice looked super comfy was when he was next to Jorginho and we played with him a little bit deeper, closer to the 6. Because I guarantee, if you look at a pass map, I don't even need to see it. But I know that if you look at a pass map and you see how many times the 6 passes to the left 8, it's got to be single digits. That those 2 positions do not communicate. They have no dialogue whatsoever. But when Jorginho and Rice were playing together, Jorginho constantly popped that ball into Rice from that deeper position. He would take it and then dribble forward really fast. I want to say a good example of that was probably against Chelsea when we scored that first goal in the first 4 minutes of the game at home. Trossard scores. Declan gets the ball from deep from whoever's playing in the 6. I don't know if it was Partey or Jorginho. I don't know. But he takes the ball and he just runs with it from deep, dishes it out to Trossard. Boom. Goal. You don't see that anymore because he's so fucking far ahead. So we need to switch that up just ever so slightly. It's not that he can't play in that position. It's just the way that position operates. And to be honest, not a single player since Xhaka has been here has played in that position consistently. And looked comfy. It's been an odd position ever since Xhaka left, and I don't necessarily feel like it's because none of those players can play there. I just think it's the way that the role is being played by everyone is odd. It's a ghost, it's a Casper role, it's not a high touch role. Xhaka used to take about 70 touches a game, Declan Rice takes about 30. I think that in itself just shows you, like, that it needs some work. Um, Declan said it himself, he's best as a 6. Yep. I called PSG for UCL after they got Kvaratskhelia, to be honest. Honestly, in an ideal world, Jesus would stay fit and play left wing. The girl, the gospel, love it. Agreed, Jess. Rice was best in the 6. I don't see why it wouldn't even be better with a real midfielder at 8 instead of Havertz. I've always asked why, you know, there's never been a case where Declan Rice has played in the 6 and we've had a good left center mid. He usually has to play with Havertz or Marino, and we know neither one of those players looks very good in that position. And so the main issue when Rice usually plays in the 6 is that he's not playing in the 8. And so he doesn't have any, like, it's just him. And then it's just odd, So I do think Rice is fine in the 6, but I know some people have just said like it doesn't work. And then, Arteta has doubled down, brought in Zubamendi, but the best iteration of Arteta's, arsenal with Declan Rice in midfield has come when Declan Rice played with Jorginho. And you can see a stark difference to the way that he played with Jorginho to the way that he played with Partey. With Partey was a lot deeper. Rice was a lot higher. They were nowhere near each other, no dialogue, nothing. When he played with Jorginho, a lot closer, a lot of passes to each other. Declan Rice carrying the ball from a deeper position. I'm not sure where that went. I'm not sure why it doesn't happen anymore. Because even like, think about that game that we played against Chelsea, and Declan Rice was really good in that game. But also, Odegaard popped up on the right and the left. He had more freedom because he was playing in more like in the 10 role. Ever since, it's like weird, we've gotten into this like very like stiffy world, like where somebody's on the right, somebody's on the left, they don't talk to each other. Odegaard only passes to Saka, the left only passes to Martinelli. It's very strange. Not sure why we went that way, but it is what it is. Let's see. If we had a proper left back, MLS would be great as an advanced role where Declan is now. We need to play our best players in their best positions, not rocket science. I agree. One of the reasons I want the manager gone is a refusal to buy players like Cunha, Simmons. No top manager operates like that. Xhaka played one-touch football. One-touch football has completely left this club. And I just don't understand it because at least under Arsenal has been known to be kind of like the playbook or the blueprint for how football is meant to be played. Were we shit at the back? Do we lack a good striker here and there? Of course. Yeah, of course. But there were just the principles that in the way that we played were so good. And I loved when Arteta fused some of those principles together with more of a defensive structure. And so it worked a lot better. And there were times in especially in the 22-23 season where it was just very quick, like 1-2 touches. We don't play like that. And I feel like we have to play like that even more now because we play against deep blocks. So you need to move the ball quicker, but we move the ball even slower than we did back then, So, of course, like when I say that the principles that Wenger had, it doesn't mean that I necessarily want to go back there because I know that there were still big holes in the way that we played back then. But there was a time under Mikel where he had some of those principles, but modernized them and made us harder to beat. We did have times where we got found out. We played against City twice and they kind of ran through us, and that hurt. But for the most part, the way that we played opened up teams. We played quickly. We never looked like we weren't going to score. Now there's too many times where we look like we're not going to score. And I feel like that's because we pass so slow. And I know this team, a lot of these players can play 1-2 touch. But we just don't play that way anymore. So I don't know. Frank knew exactly how to play that Spurs team against Arteta. He is so predictable. We're so poor in quick transition as well. Has the Eze release clause finished? Can't see us paying over 60 million. It definitely has expired now. Arteta's arson gene is overshadowed by Pep and Moyes' gene. Wenger needs to give him a call. That Spurs game said it all. If Arteta uses that approach at the beginning of the season, it will be over for AFC within the first few games. How to take points off of Arsenal, just play a low block. I fear that more of the better teams will start playing like that against us as well. I know for the better teams would always open up against us because they back themselves, but I would not be surprised if, we came up against other teams and they just decided, you know what, we could just sit on the back foot and just counterattack, because it is almost a 90% success rate that if you play in a mid or deep block against us, you will get all like some points off of us. And it's dark, because we still haven't figured that out. If Arteta was in charge of PSG, they would go trophyless in France. Chelsea will do it. I like, why not? Why, if like it's more important to get the points than to play your style, why wouldn't you see like City give us the ball? Why wouldn't you see Chelsea give us the ball, let us struggle with it, and then hit us on the counter? I could definitely see them doing that because why wouldn't you? And we have aging depth on the women's side. And after 22-23, Arteta got Guardiola-fied. Yeah, so it's interesting times ahead, but Arteta has all the tools to make us more dynamic. We could play quicker, we can there's so many isn't to me, it's not something that cannot be done with the current players. It just, it's not really moving in that direction right now. So, um, especially when we play with that same lineup that we have last season, I just think that lineup doesn't have any answers, at this stage. So I think you have to switch it up. At least switch up the people because maybe they'll have they'll have different answers for these questions, if that makes sense. So yeah. What do you think of Arteta as a manager for Arsenal going forward? I don't know if I can give him a chance after this season if the results are the same. I think I'm pretty, um, consistent on if it had been my choice, he would have been gone this past summer. I feel like we're being incredibly patient with a manager that's showing signs of being a nearly man. Um, he's had more than enough time to win something, at least get us to a final. No finals, no trophies since the FA Cup. That was quite a long time ago, and for a big club, going even 2 seasons without winning anything is pretty bad. We've gone, like, 5 now, 4, whatever, so that's quite a bit. This season, he has to win something, but would I be would I be lying, like, if I said that I don't really have a lot of, like, confidence we're gonna win anything this season? It's just we've had so many good opportunities where it was pretty much on a platter for us, so I don't know. I really don't, but if it was up to me, he'd already be gone, so yeah. David Ornstein says Arteta doesn't have any pressure from the owners and the Cronkies are happy with him. I don't think he will be sacked even if we finish the season trophyless. He won't. We're stuck with him. I'm telling you right now, we're stuck with him. He's not leaving anytime soon. So they are the project is very much so Arteta, so he's has no pressure, and you should know that he has no pressure because no manager that's under pressure would make some of the decisions that he makes. So yeah, patience becomes negligence if we don't win anything this year. We barely score in semis of all competitions. Exactly. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, I am happy to hear about, Fabio maybe going. Um and Stuttgart coming in for a permanent deal. We're still waiting to see what's going on with Reece Nelson. It was supposed to be advanced negotiations probably about almost 2 weeks ago. So I'm not quite sure, what the holdup is on that. But, hopefully we'll get some clarity on that soon. And maybe we'll hear something about Trossard or somebody, you know, but outgoings seem to be moving, and maybe even Kiwior will go. So yeah, let's see how things develop. But I told you guys at the beginning of the show that would be a little bit shorter because I do have to go pick my dog up. If anything happens, you guys know I'll come back. But otherwise, the next time that we'll talk is tomorrow. So I'm sorry that this was a little bit of a shorter show, but they said 12 or 3 and now they're talking about 10:30, so I actually need to get on the road like right now. But make sure you guys like the video and subscribe to the channel on your way out, and we will definitely talk soon. Love y'all. Bye. Oh yeah, yes, Valeria, we'll do a live after the game for sure. But yeah, make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Bye guys.